Tēnā tātou katoa, good evening. It'll be a new year with new workplace laws in 2024. The government confirmed today 90-day trials are back and fair pay agreements will be scrapped.
Cabinet will introduce legislation by Christmas to reverse both of Labor's cornerstone workplace relations moves.
But as political editor Jenna Lynch explains, Christopher Luxon is moving so quickly to get through his 100-day plan, some crucial policy process has been chucked on the scrap heap too.
The wheels of repeal are a-spinning.
I am proud to say we are doing what New Zealanders voted for.
All the government wants for Christmas is to unwind Labor's workforce laws. First up, bring back 90-day trials for all businesses, allowing employers to hire and fire within 90 days.
We want to make it easier for Kiwis to find their first job. We want to make it easier for Kiwis to find their next job. We want to make it easier for Kiwis to get off the benefit and move into work.
And before the silly season's out, fair pay agreements will be on their way out.
To remove the mandated union deals that are being imposed on Kiwi workplaces.
Newshub was leaked the advice behind that decision. Cabinet went against it. And from here on out, the repeals process will be done sans advice. Newshub has seen a Cabinet paper that says Cabinet has decided to remove the requirement for regulatory impact statements.
And we've got legislation that we're repealing. We think it's a huge waste of time for everybody to go off and create a regulatory impact statement.
The statements basically model the impact changing the rules will have on, for instance, the government books, a particular sector of business or a particular community group. The Prime Minister says, though, there's no point officials writing them because his ministers simply won't read them.
You've got people just working and churning, generating papers that are never going to be read and not that relevant to the decision being taken.
Well, I think it's reckless. These statements are important for making sure we know what the real costs of these changes are. These are big changes. We're talking about the repeal of fair pay agreements, the Resource Management Act changes, the smoke-free changes.
Luxon says he's here to do things differently, change the relationship between business and government.
You don't just pass on with a bunch of, all respect Wellington bureaucrats making some decisions about how to run a business from Wellington.
Do you respect the public service in Wellington?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you think they think you do?
Well, I hope they do.
Minister for Regulation David Seymour has long rallied for better official advice and often relied on it as an opposition MP to scrutinise government decisions.
They can be important, but frankly at the moment they're not very good.
Labor's finance spokesman Grant Robertson says it's important the public sees the evidence behind the policies, even if the government disagrees with it.
It's fully in the power of the government to ignore the advice they get, but the public should know what that advice is.
So why are you so scared of a regulatory impact statement?
I'm not, but I'm not interested in wasting time.
No time to waste when you've promised to deliver a 100-day plan.
Jenna's with us now. Kia ora, Jenna. Why doesn't the government want this advice prepared for them?
Well, it depends on who you listen to. If it's the Minister for Regulations, he says that the advice that he helped design the template for is rubbish and he's here to save us all from bad policy making. If it's the Prime Minister, he's just keen to get things done without worrying about trivial things like official advice. If it's the opposition, they think that the government is actively hiding itself from scrutiny, and we won't get these papers prepared on, for instance, the repeal of the smoke-free legislation. Then there's the fact that the leaks of Cabinet papers and advice have been nearly as steady as those out of Wellington's rusty pipes. In all of that, the truth lies somewhere probably in the middle. In technicality, the advice has been prepared for most of this stuff when it was introduced as policy. So in theory, you can just rinse and reverse it and you've got yourself some advice to repeal it from. But for a Prime Minister and a government that promised evidence-based policy, actively asking not to get the evidence on which to base your policy probably isn't the best first step in that direction.
Political editor Jenna Lynch, tēnā koe.